Got it? Okay, let's call the Garden Prairie work session to order, August 7th, 2024 at 6 PM. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. Will you join me in a pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. First item for discussion, GoGov contract. James and I have been researching different providers of software to manage our things, regular business in the city, from permits to complaints to potholes and work orders and things like that. So after interviewing many different companies, we've decided the best product out there is this GoGov for our what we're wanting to do. So James, go ahead and kind of take it.
Sure.
And
So one of the things that we talked about over the past couple of years was MyGov, which is the current e-government services provider that we have, was going to be terminating their current version 4 and updating to a version 5, which forced us to either make a decision to stay with them for another 5 years or go on to another developer. Part of that would be that we would have to migrate overall the current legacy information and data onto either the new MyGov 5.0 system or onto a different provider. So during that time, we looked at whether or not the new MyGov system would have all the functionality that we would really like, and if it would provide the ease of use and not just for resident or not just for staff, but also moving towards having a public-facing portal for our services, such as applying for business licenses, zoning, building permits, requests for services from city staff, work orders, public works requests, such as that. So in doing that, we also explored whether or not it might be opportunity for us to expand our e-government services to other things, such as our current financial software system, changing our Parks and Rec system from our current Rec Desk software to a different one, trying to look at whether or not it would be smart to do some sort of a comprehensive e-government services platform that would encompass basically all facets of city government. When you do that, one of the things we learned throughout this process, you really pigeonhole yourself into just a few companies. And pretty much the consensus from people we've talked to, both in government and from developers, there's a lot of developers that do certain things really well, but very few of them do all of those things, all of those, whether it's building permits or zoning requests or citizen requests for work orders or finance software. Very few even offer that, and sounds like from the other colleagues of mine, none of them seem to do it all well. So we kind of pared back. We got really excited and thought, well, we'll put everything on the same system. And then we decided, well, let's go back to what we really needed to do, which was replace MyGov for code enforcement and permitting. Now, part of that also ended up being an easy add-on to that was business licenses. And then adding on to our current situation, we don't have a public-facing portal, but adding a public-facing portal where residents could either go online to through our website or go on through a mobile application and apply for any number of city services, whether it's a business license, a liquor license, a deck permit, etc., and even a zoning change, or also make requests of the city, such as I see a pothole, I've got street creep, I think, or something to that effect. We decided that GoGov was probably the cleanest and simplest one that we looked at. Some of them can get very complicated, which then makes it really not very user-friendly for staff or for residents. A lot of them didn't have a mobile application. Now, some of them did have most of them all said, well, it would scale to your phone. So you could still look at the website from your phone, and it's scalable to different sizes. We really liked the idea of having a dedicated app because whenever you have something that scales to your mobile phone, sometimes the functionality is not all there. The other thing that we talked about, and this was something that kind of evolved out of the conversations that and the comments that have been made by the public over the last couple of years, is using this not only to do our internal processes better and more effective and more efficiently, but also seeing if there is either a module or a separate 311 notification software or product that would allow us to communicate better with our residents with notifications, pushing out information about what's going on in the city, and allowing our residents to communicate directly with city staff on any number of items that might be of interest to them. This one was able to do those all those tasks, and we thought that even though there is.
So in how to communicate with this, are you talking about emails? What kind of a unit, is it like a unified comms component to this platform that offers? What's the communication entail?
Sure. So instead of emailing somebody and putting it out on social media, and which is really kind of what we do now, you'd be able to send your communications out, and those would link directly. Number one, the communication would go directly to someone's phone. So
right.
You'd be able to send SMS alerts or push notifications to the app. You'd be able to directly put it onto, I think there's 3 or so different social media platforms where it would post to, and then same thing with emails as well. So instead of us trying to remember to email on multiple different platforms, this gives us that one-time shot. And the addition of an actual mobile app and SMS messaging, I think, was the most compelling, because some of the things that have come up recently, and some of it comes up in with very little notice, things like street closures, things where we don't have a lot of lead time, either because of a contractor or something out of our hands. We can push those notifications to people in real time.
Yeah. When
streets get closed, when streets reopen, if there's detours, if there's a hazard in the roadway, the concert's canceled tonight because pending weather, concert is not canceled tonight because the weather's going to be fine. So any number of those things, we felt that was pretty compelling. But it also allows people right there with their app to say, there's a pothole in the street and I'm standing right here. I can take a picture with this app.
Upload it.
Geolocates.
Yep.
Luckily, and the reason why the app's so compelling too, because there's no I got to upload this. It's all very much integrated into kind of the process.
Can I ask
Sure.
if that the resident does upload it and action is taken? Does that platform, does this platform offer updates? As hey, this has been accepted. There's this going on, and when it's fixed, they get a notification that it's resolved. Is a ticketing system, like a ticket management system?
Exactly. And so we'll have this is the we'll set the workflows, but we'll also set notifications for those workflows, so we can notify. We can bombard residents with we're looking at it. Phil looked at it today. We got a plan to fix it. We fixed it, or we can just tell them it's done at the end. But one of the things that I really like about this app is it's very customizable. So, and if we like to change it midstream, this was one of the companies that allowed us basically unlimited updates and changes throughout the course of the contract. So if we decide to start out with, hey, we're going to have, every time somebody makes a notice to the city, we're going to have, send them like an email or a notification every step of the workflow. And people are like, I don't like that. I got a lot of messages from the city. I just need to know when it's done. We can go back and change it and say,
Can,
hey, as soon as it's done, you get an email, a notification to your app, whatever.
do you have any of the other information from the other platforms that were assessed? Did you guys, you said you, well, maybe John had said it, that you guys had looked at multiple options for this, and this is the best one. I was just wondering, like, you know, as far as some of the performance and cost, you know, cost benefit analysis compared to those, do you guys have any of that information or
I mean, I have-
analysis that you guys did on that?
I can add to that. I like that question, but I know it says scheduled for a demo. Will we really do a demo to other ones that can say which ones are better and which ones are worse?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Adding a demo to it, like if we're going to see all the couple companies you use, we also see a demo of the product, if even by phone possible, because it says scheduled for a demo.
Right, I mean, we've already done 10 different demos.
Were the
Some of us have
aldermen
done it.
involved?
Pardon me?
Were the aldermen involved with any of the demos?
No, this is a city,
It-
this is an administrative workflow. I mean, this is what the city staff uses for our administrative workflows internally. So staff has reviewed multiple. The mayor has been, he's been with most of them, I'd say, if not all of them. But the biggest add-on and the biggest thing that would be changing, and this is something that's also different from most, is this one has the mobile application, which a lot of them don't necessarily have a mobile application. Again, they have like a scalable web version of it for your phone, but it's really hard to, with these, it's really hard to always say apples to apples what it is, because some of them, they don't all have the same exact, they don't have all the same exact features. Some of the features are more expensive than others, because like this one, I think we only have to have 3 modules. Some of them, you have to have a module for permitting, a module for zoning, a module for building. This is all stuff that we dictate through the development process. So in the end, I think it's 3 modules that we're having, and we'll still be able to get the total functionality that we need. Currently, with the new MyGov 5,
Are they like, does it require an outside party to come in and develop those modules, or are they widgets that can be done in-house, that can be customized?
so there'll be a development process between us and GoGov throughout for about the next 30 to 60 days. Just kind of depends how many times we get it right the first time, as far as what we're seeing, what we're thinking, and what they give us. But ultimately, a lot of it is customizable in-house. So from the outset, they'll be setting it up, so to speak. If we wish to make changes, we can either have them do it, but we have the flexibility to change some of the workflows and some of the notifications and some of that in-house, which
Right.
is also a big benefit, because a lot of the other platforms required going to them.
But the look and feel of it's something that they would be, that would be their responsibility to customize, to sort of develop out of.
Right, so, we'd send them city logos, kind of our color schemes, things like that. They would design, when they open up the mobile application, it'll look customized to the city, branded with the City of Garden Prairie's logos, colors, et cetera. Same with the interaction with the public-facing portal. Ultimately, the portal will be part of our website. So, you won't go to necessarily a GoGov website. You'll go to our website. You'll click on a little button. It'll take you to a portal through GoGov to make, if you want to do it at a desk, if you want to apply for a business license, if you want to apply for a building permit, if you want to apply for a zoning change. So all of that, again, will be
And that'll be
branded. I guess
on the
brand is
web
probably the
page,
best way
right?
to say it, like Garden Prairie.
I've got a couple of questions. One was, you said that there were unlimited updates to this. Did I hear that correctly?
Correct. We have, it's unlimited support.
Is that defined anywhere? Because I didn't see that in the,
Go to pricing in the link. Yes, it's
where's pricing? You have an
You
application.
see it up top, Alderman Costello?
Yeah.
Of the link.
I'm looking at the,
Oh, I'm looking at the.
Oh, you
website.
went to their website?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll have to take a look at that then.
Sorry about that.
Because the terms and conditions on the order form don't solidify that, and I always get concerned if that's not in the contract. Um, uh, Yeah. And then the other question, there were questions about the others that were considered. Was there any scoring done or any artifacts that were kept on? Maybe hard to be apples to apples, but anything that was documented about the comparisons, evaluations?
I've got a bunch of it in here.
And I'm perfectly fine with reviewing that offline if you want to send it out.
I would have to go back through and,
Okay.
I mean,
I have one
I mean,
last.
again, ultimately, this was the choice by the staff who will be using it. Well, and previous
Well-
staff who's no longer here.
And I can understand that. However, there's two sides to it. And I expect staff would be looking for ease of use and how clear it is on their side in the administration, things like that. But I also want to make sure that I'm getting the residents' view of it. I can take a look from that side and see what it looks like for them as well. And if that was
I mean,
considered.
at the end of the day, the residents are only going to see what we design it for them to see.
Ease of
most
use, ease of use of the application, any issues with the application being downloaded, needing extra access to things, aesthetically, how easy the website is to navigate and things like that. Was that looked at from the end user point of view?
But it's all custom. I mean, none of that exists at this point.
Okay.
I mean, because it will all be customized based on.
They don't use templates. It's 100% customized.
I mean, you can start with that. I mean, I guess anybody can start with a template. I mean,
Okay.
we looked at multiple different cities. I mean, they all look different as far as, how you go about your,
Okay.
how you go about the application itself, because not everybody uses, well, for instance, so one of the problems that I've always had with MyGov is that we use our work orders as part of code enforcement. It's a workaround. That shouldn't work that way.
Mhm.
Everything is forced into a system that it doesn't really fit. This gives us the freedom to say, like, there's a system for work orders, a system for building, building permits, planning and zoning requests, internally, work orders as opposed to what we called CRM, what they consider CRM, which would be Citizen Request Manager. So managing requests from the citizens and those concerns versus, something that's internal that more or less assigned to somebody as a workflow. So, but again, that's all totally up to the subscriber to say, how do we want this to be? How do we want this to look? How do we want this to feel? I think probably what's most important for the board and for the citizens is to be part of the development discussion, because ultimately that's where you're going to get the answers I think that you're looking for. And I think what's important, what we really liked about MyGov too, is knowing that this is something that can evolve, because I think the staff can think of something, you can think of something, we could all think this will be great, and then the residents are like, I hate it. And then it's like, well, but that's what we bought. This gives us the opportunity to, even if we need to go back and change the app, the configuration of the app, or make it more ease of use, we can do that.
Awesome. I'd love to see that in black and white, because I do see on the pricing, it says unlimited support. Generally, that means unlimited support, as in, hey, something's broken or this button isn't working, can you fix it? Just, that sounds like design.
I think the unlimited software updates is,
Okay.
I mean, so, and that was a key issue. And John Young and I can go through the contract more finely if we're concerned about the wording.
Okay.
But, I mean, that was, a huge issue.
Is there a larger contract than that was added in the agenda? Or was it just a?
Just the engagement that was,
Okay, so, 'cause I see the term of service in here.
right.
Yeah. So that's the order form. All right.
So this have a user-facing front for the city staff who would be actively in, like, let's say there's going back to the pothole repair. Would they be out there and have a user-facing frontage on it where they would go in and in real time, be able to update it on an app, show it's complete? Is that, so it's sort of an end-to-end solution from constituent to the actual
Yes.
staff member?
Yeah, so there would be, and this was, again, so many of the companies would have an app that was only for staff. A number of them did, but very, very few. In fact, nobody that was really even in the top three, I would say, had, except for GoGov, had one that was resident usage as well. I can tell you, years ago, previous city, we used C-Click Fix, which was early on in this game of having somebody, having a customer request manager on an app, on a mobile app. They eventually got bought out by Civic Plus. But what we found was people loved using the app. Anytime somebody says like, well, I can look at something on my phone, then they're like, well, the button's not working. I can't get this, because when it scales, there's always an issue. But when it came to the app, people really loved using the app to notify potholes, road closures, or whatever else was out there that residents, code enforcement issues, somebody's tall grass. So that was a huge issue. On this one, we'll be able to get that from the residents, but as our staff are out there, and it's nice because they can use it from, anybody that's got a smartphone, whether it's a OS app or a Android app, they'll be able to download it and then utilize the app right there to both get the notification on their workflows. So they'll be told, hey, nobody's got to call them, nobody's got to Teams them, nobody's got to email them. It'll pop up on their phone and say, you've got a pothole over here. And then when they do it, again, it's all based on how we set it up. Once they acknowledge it, we can have it set up to let them know that hey, the staff's working on it, it's been acknowledged, or hey, they already fixed it. There was a dead animal in the road, they just drove over there and got it. It's done, and then somebody will get either an email, however you want it set up, email, text message, notification on your app.
Yeah, it's, from my lens, just hearing this and understanding current technology, it sounds like it's a pretty comprehensive solution for, we get a lot, we get a unified communications platform, we get an end-to-end service, management platform for city issues that our constituents can hold in their hand and get updates. It sounds really great. I guess the only thing, just going back to the question asked earlier, excuse me, I would like to see just, not like an in-depth, detailed amount, but okay, what are the other applications that are out there just for, and what were some of the estimates from them? That way we're looking at cost benefit analysis before we approve this, because it's just seeing one and saying it's great. I just for the, I would say for my edification, can't speak for the rest of the board, but what they would say, I'd just like to understand what, where are we at in the midst of other competition, what they offer.
Well, I'll tell you, most of the people got knocked out ultimately just because they didn't have a mobile app. Ultimately, we felt that was
That's
a
hard
really,
to believe. Nobody would.
you would be surprised.
It's
The more,
crazy.
well, so when you demo these, they will either tell you like, if they have a mobile app, they're like, it's the most important thing. And I'm like, I agree. I think it was very important. If they didn't have it, which a lot of them didn't, some of the biggest ones don't. They just tell you like, oh, that's not really important. Ours are all scalable. Here, let me show you on my screen. If you're on a tablet, if you're on your phone, it works all the same. And I'm like, we've all been there, right? We've all been there on our phone. We've all been there on a tablet. It doesn't always work the same. The button doesn't, the functionality somehow has changed. The user experience is frustrating because it's like, it's not working right, or now it's being covered up by a pop-up. And so that knocked out most of them, because the pricing ranges from $20,000 to $40,000 a year, so.
How does that compare to our current?
So our current one, I think we're at, what's the total a month? It's like $700 a month? $820 a month, okay.
Oh,
So
we're jumping up there.
well, but if we would have went with the same thing in MyGov, MyGov was going to go up to $19,000 a year.
Okay.
with what we've got anyway. So we were going already from 820 a month to, I had it 18,994. So plus $4,000 in for the upgrade fee. So, and that didn't,
Have we calculated out anticipated cost for implementation?
talking about staff time.
Staff time?
I mean, there's-
I assume there's going to be some time with Tom, since there's a lot of the GIS stuff in there.
Tom doesn't do GIS, so,
Okay?
but my planning and manager, he does. But this
Okay.
GIS is, it's all internal. It's going to be, they're getting this information directly from St. Charles County, from their ArcGIS subscription. They'll also get all of the information from their St. Charles County assessors. So having all of this real-time update is also a huge improvement. A number of the ones we looked at didn't have the GIS plugin, or if they did, it was only on the back end. So maybe the staff can see it. One of the things that was, I think, important for us too was to have a resident out there complaining about a pothole, and they're trying to say, well, I'm on St. Madeline Drive somewhere. Like, they don't know where they're at. But this will geolocate them, and then it will connect them to the GIS. So we'll have that information readily available. It will help the resident in their reporting. It'll help us in finding it ultimately. So
That was originally talked about when we were talking about redesigning the website to what it is now, was that ability to do that stuff, and then magically didn't happen. So I'm excited to see that this,
when was this?
long time ago.
I was going to say,
No, long time ago, years ago.
okay.
So I'm excited to see that may be a possibility.
Yeah, being able to see and interact on the map, I think, is also very helpful. So both residents will be able to, sign up for a user account, or they can just come in as a guest. But they'll be able to track, you'll be able to track business licenses that you've applied for, permits that you've applied for, zoning requests that you've applied for, et cetera.
Okay.
Does this have any interoperability with the Microsoft Outlook and Microsoft suite that we use? Or is that a totally separate independent? Do they have a API or
I guess in what way?
like a calendar, any sort of?
So the one thing that is, I don't know, haven't really considered, because ultimately I think we would probably just keep it all on here, is for like Jeff. So in the future, instead of us, somebody calling and, sitting there writing down on a piece of paper when inspection is, you'll be able to sign up for your own inspection times. And that'll shoot out, the request back to Jeff or whoever else on his calendar and his schedule. So it'll keep all of that together. As far as putting anything on like Outlook, I didn't ask that question. Didn't really think about that.
Yeah, sometimes though, it's a mature platform program, they could have some sort of interoperability built in with it.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think we would, obviously, the main key calendar component would be, because we're not going to be using this for like park rentals or anything like that. We're staying with Rec Desk. The key calendar issue would be just inspections and signing up for that. Simplify that.
It's not listed under the integration.
Push out of this. So it looks like it's just going to be.
Yeah, I mean, considering.
Laura, did you have a question?
Yeah, I have
Compared to what we
I
got,
have some questions,
James,
thank
hold
you.
on.
Sure, thank you.
Sorry for taking too much
That's
time.
okay. No, I just was wondering, the list shows 4 different unlimited subscriptions: the Go Request, Go Enforce, Go Permit, and Go Notify. Are those the 4 subscriptions are those the only subscriptions they offer? I see we get a bundle discount, but I'm just wondering if that's going to be one of those, oh yeah, we'll have to add that unlimited subscription. I'm just wondering. Because I see that totals up to the amount that's on the 27,264, but just wondering if that's all inclusive as to what they offer for our needs, or if they're
I don't
coming at a
think
cost.
they offer any other. I don't think they offer any other modules. They don't do park software. They don't do. They don't do finance software, general ledger software, anything like that. I mean, there are companies that do, and I mean, I think the one we looked at had like 40, one of them had like 40 something modules.
Oh, wow.
I mean, but they had a module for everything, and they charged you like $5,000 for each one. So it was like permitting module, code enforcement module, citizen complaint module, planning module, zoning module, and it was just like they got so granular with it. It's like when we looked at it, it was going to blow out the budget, and we'd need a module for every little thing. These, going back to the customizability, so to speak, of this, a lot of this, I mean, everything we'll do will fit into these 3 modules. Everything we currently do, plus
4
our-
modules?
I think it's 4.
Yeah.
It didn't print out on my sheet. I don't know
Okay.
why, but
And the staff that saw the demo, was that like the administrative staff? Like would Kim have seen that demo too, or?
well, Terry was the main operator of this software, and so Terry was part of that.
So Terry was the only staff that saw it besides you?
No, I mean,
Jen is,
I mean, not, it depends on I'm not sure who was on all of them. I know Terry was involved in all of them. Again, she's the primary user of, or was at the time, the primary user of the system. I'd have to go back and look at who was all involved in which ones. Early on, I know that Nicole was part of some of these conversations because we'd also looked at some recreation plugins, some like RecDesk is. But early on, we decided that we were not looking to change over from RecDesk. I know Kim had been in a couple of them. We had talked about, again, going to a general ledger system that would be integrated into all of this. And as
I was
Sage-
not in on this one.
No, but you're not part of, I mean, you
doesn't
weren't
have
part of the code
anything in it that
enforcement.
you're responsible for.
Right.
Business licenses, permits, licensing? Just said that.
It's an application that will come through you.
Yeah,
You'll-
I just want to make sure
Well,
Okay, right.
that I was not
Originally,
involved in this.
but
one.
Thank
the way
you.
that's,
Thank you for clarifying.
the way that's done now, it comes into front desk, right? An application for a business license?
It's paid for at the front desk, yes.
Yeah.
So going back to it, originally a plan to replace MyGov. MyGov, we don't currently, other than using quick receipts, we don't do business licenses through MyGov. This was an opportunity to streamline that process as well. So this was one of those add-ons that made sense versus what the initial
What-
focus was.
What applications do you plan to sunset by implementing GoGo?
What do you mean MyGov is the only program? So we won't use MyGov anymore. It'll be January 1st of 2025. It's going to be offline anyway, which is also why we need to begin integration of this new software immediately.
So this will supplant one MyGov to this, and then, so you said there's also the recreation.
Right, we won't be changing the RecDesk software.
So since this has that, like, what are we, what's the payment for that? Is there a payment that we pay to keep that RecDesk?
RecDesk, yeah,
What is it called?
RecDesk.
RecDesk?
Mhm.
Yes, I thought-
And that's one currently integrated into our website. So when you go to our Parks and Rec page, you kind of get the RecDesk page for all of our signups for athletic leagues, teams.
Would the payment for that be less than adding this additional module for recreational management here?
Or is there an additional module? Or is it just part of
Yeah, it's another use case here.
I mean, it's a use case.
Parks
I
and Rec.
mean, it's one of those things that it could possibly, again, it kind of goes back to the customizability of this, what they can use it for. The
Looks
one
like-
thing that RecDesk does, and this goes back to what I also said earlier about
But
people
it's-
will do, I mean, could we use this to, do reservations for pavilions and things like that, or fields? Sure. But it doesn't really do
Ball leagues.
ball leagues and such the same way RecDesk does, which is really a dedicated
Okay,
software
that makes
to like
sense then,
leagues.
yeah. Okay.
Because we looked at that and couldn't really fully supplant RecDesk.
Okay.
And this was the problem with all the software, right? There's some people will do lots of things, but they
Right.
only do certain things really well. What GoGov does really well are the things that we needed. So that's why we focused on them. Because I'll be honest, we started this a year and a half ago, and honestly, a year and a half ago, we had grand plans of doing this. Talking to every other municipality in St. Charles that tried to do something like that, it turned
Yeah.
into like a 5-year disaster in which they pulled back of half of what they did, whether it was integrating financial software or recreation or whatever. They just said, look, use multiple systems. You'd like to try to do it all under one, it's just probably not going to happen.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's a common problem in business too. Just always certainly, the thing to assess is, what can you get under one, and does it cost? Is there a good cost benefit analysis when you do make the shifts?
James Ryan has a question.
I'm sorry, Ryan.
My last question, will we be able to receive data on the things that got completed, like a spreadsheet when it's output monthly?
Yeah, and so we'll be able to produce reports and information about what's pending, what's not, any kind of metrics we want to look at as far as planning and zoning, code enforcement, citizen requests, et cetera. So, and those can be set to be publicly viewable, so or they can be set to be private. So just kind of, again, depends. By us having unlimited subscriptions, which we did not have in MyGov, you'll be able to, every alderman here can have their own, user if they'd like to. You can have a city user versus a public user if you'd like.
With this process, would this be something that would be on the website to direct the people to
Yeah.
this?
So, ideally, it'd be a plug-in on the beginning, the front landing page of our website that says, if you have a business license request or a permit or anything like that, like right now we have the report of concern, any of those things, you'd be able to go through that module, click on it, and it would carry you through to the public-facing portal to allow you to make your request, whatever that might be of the city.
I think that'd help our website too.
Yeah, I mean, it would be helpful. I think there's a lot we could get off of our website by allowing this. Well, there certainly would be a lot to get off our website. We'd get rid of 500 PDF applications, off the website just from the beginning.
Yeah, that's a win right there.
I mean, we'd be able to clean up so much clutter on the website just by instituting this. I mean, and we've actually been in conversation with Revise to redo the website, but we decided we need to get moving with this. And then once we get this going, then I think we know how we can remove things from the website and then, move forward with a website revision. But
Is Revise the same one we're using right now?
that's the current one we're using right now. And that's if we decide to stay with them. They do have we do have a website redesign as part of our current contract, so they can redo it.
But only if we sign up for another
But
contract, right?
But yeah, there was some question about that because they originally said like, oh, you get a free website redesign. And then I started that process and then like, oh, you got to sign this. I'm like, let's talk about that. So yeah, we said we would revisit that after we got this rolling.
I know that we have this is the last question. I know we've spent a lot of
Sure.
time on this. I know that we've had outsourced our IT management, but it looks like there is within this, potentially one of the modules that we use already, a solution that would enable like an IT trouble ticketing system. And if we have our folks that, it would potentially just send them messaging and it would be a unified way for city staff as well, aldermen and mayor and everybody to go into this platform for IT ticketing. And I would support that as well, because that way it simplifies okay, you're having an issue, logging in or password issue, whatever, you can just go into one system and just bring everything into one system is something that I would really support, specifically with the IT system, instead of trying to find the number and calling somebody. It just, you can send the request out just like the constituents and then know that it's going to be action based on the way that things will be connected in the back end to the IT support that we already have.
Sure. Yeah, we can look at that too. Like I said, I mean, I know a lot of the questions that you asked, don't have a clear answer for, because really it's all going to be part of development. And I think what's going to be really important is for that kickoff call with GoGov for us to talk about, to get you guys engaged on that end of what we want the look, feel, or interaction to be for the public-facing portal especially. So
Any other
I
questions?
will say that, I know there were some additional questions. We are on a time crunch, so I would ask that, I was going to expect this evening for you guys to pass this. If there was additional questions that needed to be asked, I would like to maybe have gotten those prior to the meeting. We do have a development period, and then you might see also that we are not paying for a couple months because we're going to be paying for MyGov and this concurrently. So what we've done was we've formulated the contract to be, basically are going to get 2 months free so that we can work the bugs out and run GoGov and MyGov concurrently and not paying for both.
What would be
So that we can,
what would be the reason for having to accelerate the procurement process for this?
because we won't have any
expiration,
system
MyGov.
on January
Won't have any
1st of next
system.
year. So once, obviously there's going to be a development period. There's going to be us working with them. They've got to migrate the legacy data, number one, of everything that we have in our current
Right,
system.
that would be the
over.
one thing I would think is most important, but.
That'll be important too. And I'll be honest, because I'm not a software developer, I'm not sure if we'll need to have the legacy data done prior to development. We'll probably need to have the framework before they migrate the data over, I would think. But-
Yeah, I think you build the framework first and then you push the
So
data.
so we'll need to work with them on that, and then we'll have to, once that's more or less established, then they're going to migrate the data over. We know that there's going to be, like I said, some crossover time, which is why we've been able to structure this in a way where we're not going to pay for MyGov and them at the same time. And then we'll cut ties with MyGov as soon as we have our data from MyGov. That's the most important thing. And then, like I said, we'll continue. I imagine that this will be maybe a 6-month or so process of working the bugs out. Not everything is something we do every day. So as things come up and we go, maybe that process didn't work out as good as we thought it would work out. Let's do it a little differently. If it's minor, we'll probably do it in-house. If it's a bigger change, we'll probably utilize that unlimited software update and have them update it. Certainly, we won't be updating anything on the app because that's a bigger change than the administrative dashboard that we got to use during the demo.
So I have a question. I thought it was policy that we read something once and then the next meeting we read it twice. But you're talking about reading this twice this meeting.
So the policy, going back to its initial inception, was about items such as administrative items, such as software that the administration uses in the city, would be something that we would conceivably do on the same meeting. Zoning actions, policy changes, ordinance changes, those would obviously be one to be taken over the course of 2 meetings. Garden Prairie, we look at all of these things as ordinances. Some cities would do this as a resolution, not necessarily an ordinance to approve contract. You can do it over 2 meetings. We can do it over 1. Again, like I said, this is a 18-month process that we've been going through, demoing different products, talking about what's the available timelines. Some of them had timelines of over a year for implementation and development, which also kicked out a number of developers. So,
What is the anticipated timeline for implementation of this?
well, right now we're hoping that if we started in kickoff call September 1, we're hoping to have our implementation or our what you call it, development meetings starting by September of 1, and then they were hoping to have everything done by most of the things worked out by mid-November. Obviously, got holidays in there, so that might cause some problems. Really
Say
just
60, 90 days.
It really just kind of depends, right? We had talked about, like I said, a September 1 date, but I think the real issue is we just don't know what is if we get it right the first time on these conversations, it might be 60 days. If it takes us, multiple iterations to figure out what we like, and if we bring the board in, it sounds like the board wants to be part of this process. Now we're talking about something that quite frankly I did not conceive of in the beginning, but especially when we're talking about public facing portions, I think that's important that the board gives some input from a citizen's perspective.
Just a point, I think if we're looking for kickoff call on September 1st and approving August 21st, it seems like we should be able to turn around that, especially getting heads up. But one thing I'd like to see included in the contract, because I think there's an assumption that we have unlimited design updates. Software updates typically mean security patches and updates to some technical architectural things like upgrading Java, upgrading your .NET, things like that. Generally, in these contracts, when I get into them, design is separate from software. So I'd love to see that clarified in writing.
We can do that. I think what I want to avoid is we get to this next meeting and you think that we're going to go to another developer suddenly. That might be really, really hard to do without not changing, without not making our January 1st date. And I completely agree with you. Making sure we have clarifying language, and I'll work with John Young on making sure he feels comfortable on what our expectations mean for the contract. But I want to kind of get your feel to make sure that you're comfortable with the process and the.
I don't know that there's, with the timeline we have right now, I don't know that there's much wiggle room. So.
Okay. I will get those.
All right, so any other
updates to you
questions?
guys.
Can we move on? All right, next item of discussion is fireworks, Bill 2425. James, you want to kick that off?
I
got
don't
it.
know.
Well,
I just, let me kick it off. I mean,
You have an
there's
update
been
that
some
went out?
changes.
yeah, so,
Do we feel that there's been, you guys might, you should have in your packets the research that was performed by our city attorney as far as the legal requirements in other communities. And so it's really up for discussion at this point.
Yep.
Yeah, I've got we've got a couple other things too. In the interest of time, I just had a conversation with Carl and with the rest of the board. This is, we're past the 4th of July. It's on the agenda. It's, I think that this is, Carla has kind of suggested this as well, but this is something that's probably not really priority tonight. We just got a chance to look at a little bit more, if that makes sense to the rest of the board, to postpone to the next
postpone
meeting.
it till the next meeting,
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
okay? All in favor?
All right. Well, we have to do that.
Yeah, but,
Yeah, I think we're
right,
on.
but I mean, just for the agenda
Yeah.
here for the work session,
But I do appreciate the
all right?
info
Yeah.
given here, because I think it kind of shows that we're way out of
Yep.
date line with everybody else as far as
Uh-huh,
how long we allow it to go on.
right. Okay, next item, RBA, Alderman Whitman, dangerous intersections, stop signs placement.
I think this one's pretty much been talked about extensively. I guess I tried to capture my intentions with the RBA, and I think, like I said, we've had multiple residents come up and talk about this. It's been on the table as an issue for over a year at this point. Does the board have any questions or concerns with the proposed approach with this?
No.
No.
Okay.
I would leave it open a little bit for Tom. If he comes back and says, hey, there's some slight changes, something like that, I would definitely love to see his. But it should be during implementation or something like that.
Yeah, I'm happy to enter. Yeah, I agree. That sounds good.
The only thing that I would suggest, and I spoke to our public works superintendent about this, so I sent this to him and asked him to weigh in. he had mentioned that these lighted signs like this, he said that typically those are for places where there's either short coming up over a hill or some sort of obstruction
Around a
that,
tight turn.
yeah, either a tight turn or some sort of visual obstruction that you don't notice you're coming to a stop. He questioned whether or not we really needed that. He said if there was a concern about making sure people knew there was a stop, that he'd suggested maybe adding some signage that let people know, there's a stop sign ahead. But
Well,
obviously, putting one of these in not only inflates the cost considerably, but also then the maintenance thereof it and for the future. So
I think, the pedestrian crosswalk is the reason why I think that's merited there. There's a lot of people that use that trail. There's a lot of kids that ride on bikes that don't pay attention. And I think that's, especially because this is a new stop sign. People aren't going to be used to slowing down and stopping. And we've already heard of some close incidents from some of the constituents that came in here a couple weeks ago. I think that's why that small investment is worth the safety of our folks over there. The current lighting system is a kind of what I would consider an antiquated system where you walk up and you press the button and it just gives a single yellow flashing light. And so this provides a lot more visibility to anybody coming up that could be speeding through that thoroughfare, which, again, when the initial design was set up, it was for Barrett Haven as a neighborhood that has since become a collector road, and the traffic is, extensive through there than it initially was designed. So I think that it's something that you have to sort of, push the changes and safety to align with that. So,
I mean, there hasn't been any structural changes to Barrett Haven to make it anything. It's just
change to the city. Talking about change to the city and the population of the city, the numbers of cars transiting through there and at the speed in which they do so, because they're in a hurry and trying to use it to get around the main traffic from the highway every day at work. So I'm not saying there were structural changes to the road. I'm saying there's changes to the city and therefore the changes to the activity on the road.
I think it's fine to have a flashing red light. Flashing stop sign. It's cheaper than a light. So, and can you put a price? You want to wait till something bad happens and then decide we should have done something different? How much extra could it really cost? And isn't it probably worth the extra cost?
Well, probably the most effective item is already out there, which I think the board is now suggesting we remove, which is the stop for pedestrians in the crosswalk, kind of the flag in the middle of the street there.
It's a baluster, and to clarify, that had nothing to do with controlling traffic. That had to do with complaints that came in from people using the trail system that said that cars would not stop for them. It's the only reason they were put there as far as
Yeah.
people crossing.
I agree, and that was put in after I brought this up to the board, and what I'm saying is I think that was a half measure when we just should have put stop signs in to get people to stop there.
I'm surprised somebody hasn't drove over it.
It's hard to even maneuver around it when you're going onto St. Fairhaven Boulevard from specifically repairing and making a left turn. It's you have to go over, up, and then a left to go around it instead of just making a natural
Turn
in the
into
lane.
the turn lane? Is that
Yes,
what you're
it's
saying?
in the turn lane to get onto, if you're trying to get onto Barrett Haven Boulevard from Riparian, that is now impeding
Okay.
traffic. Since exactly what the constituents came up here and said, multiple people said it. The placement of it is actually makes it harder because now you have to, instead of watching for traffic speeding through there, you now have to sort of go up and watch that and watch to the left and to the right. And that's not for me, Johnson. Don't smirk and laugh
No,
at me.
no. While they were here, I think there were 3 people that spoke on it. I texted 9 people in Barrett Haven, asking them if it was a problem, and I'll show it to you. Not one of them said it was a problem. So 9 different people in Barrett
We'll
Haven.
take that as a note. I think that
I mean,
probably moved for the discussion tonight, and
yeah.
they might be good to move on.
If I could ask for the preparation of the legislation, a motion second and vote to prepare legislation consistent with the RBA, I believe with the understanding that concurrent with the presentation of the legislation will be a report from the city engineer about whether it meets proper standards.
Yep. Well said.
Yeah.
You want to make a motion?
Oh, you want a motion?
Whatever he said.
It'd just be a motion
Motion,
to prepare legislation
motion to-
consistent with the RBA.
motion to prepare legislation in consistency with the RBA.
Second.
Is it all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hear none. John? Care of the-
Yes, sir.
Okay. Moving on, review of the Board of Aldermen agenda. Any questions? All right, staff communications.
Just one question on that. The Board of Aldermen agenda includes the Fairhaven CID. Were any of the members that are nominated on here actually contacted to ask if they wanted to be on the CID again? Because I talked to one, he said he hadn't been contacted to even ask if he wanted to be on the CID.
So there's a company, I forget what's the name of the company that manages
Yeah,
this.
it's like a law firm, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they were the ones that came out with these names.
Yeah.
Okay? I assume that they contacted them because they're the ones that put the names on there
Yeah.
that asked us to put it on the agenda.
No,
So-
I'm with you, and I'm just bringing it up, and it's not anything, I would make the assumption as well.
So I know EJ, I talked to.
Yeah, he said that when I talked to him, he said, I said, hey, you still want to be on the CID? And I asked, and I didn't know who the other gentleman was, Les Kowski. He's from the McKees interest, so he has that position for that reason, which sort of makes sense. And of course, we know who Ed is. But I talked about that and EJ, and neither seemed to be aware that they were up for another 4-year appointment. So just in future reference for whether it's this company or any other board, I would offer to maybe those that conduct the due diligence to just contact the folks that are going to be on that CID. So no fault of you guys. I would have made the same assumption based on the reading of it, you know. So,
Well-
and they're,
I know this is just kind of administrative.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
exactly.
kind of, you know, the city is not on the hook to go out and find members for this,
right.
you know, so.
But my point is if, the thing is if, you know, let's say, for example, EJ Sandstone, you know, he's got a lot going on, and maybe he doesn't want the responsibility anymore, but we were about to vote to appoint him, you know, for a 4-year position that he may not have even
You
wanted.
can resign at any time.
I know, but it's just simply that
But-
I think it's the general, I think
Yeah.
the board makes the assumption if the name is presented here, that there is a want by the individuals on here to be appointed for the next 4 years. So that's the only point I'm trying to make, and I'm not trying to point
Okay.
fingers or cast blame, just make that clear. I just wanted to bring that up as a note of point of order, I guess.
So I have no idea. What is the Barrett Haven Community Improvement District?
It's a CID that was put in place, Community Improvement District.
Doggle by the McKees.
It's a tax, it's a
I like
tax
that name, so.
incentive to develop that property, okay? They're paying an additional tax every year to live there. It costs to develop that through a CID, okay? And this is a board that's supposed to manage that money.
The
I had
HOA
no-
pays this.
Never heard of it before. I live on the
Similar
other
to,
side of town.
we have different development districts that help develop Garden Prairie Plaza, Prairie Encore. This one doesn't have a sales tax that helps generate, pay for any of it. It's all based on a
Based on your
fee.
property tax.
That's an assessment to the, and it helped with the initial development cost of Fairhaven.
We have really high HOA fees
Shame.
because of this.
Yeah.
I have,
But you don't have weeds in your
One
area,
other-
so they're in and out.
we do.
I have one other item that I'd like to ask about on the regular meeting. I noticed in the consent agenda, we have it's listed as the letter from the city county road maintenance, but it's actually an agreement. It looks like it includes a $1.4 million outlay. Is that appropriate for the consent agenda?
We went through this, we just talked about this when you came to my office the other day.
I know.
Well, so this is the non-binding letter of engagement. We already have an agreement with them that we sign every year that says, actually, it's not every year.
Right.
We signed a new one, I think, last year.
I think 3 years, something like that.
Right. So we have a current agreement with them. As part of that agreement, we're required to give them an estimate of services that we expect to use next year. It's an estimate of services. You know, multiple times in just 3 years that I've been here, we have either changed midstream or decided not to move forward with certain services, whether it be crack sealing or the planned slab repairs. Slab repairs, part of why they want this by this time of the year is because they'll start putting together the bid documents for the end of the season, for January release, to bid out next year's like concrete slab work and crack seal work, asphalt work, etc. So this is to help them start to kind of put together the scope of what they will be out there. If we decide not to go forward with it, we always have the right to just not let the contract, which isn't let until January anyway.
Yep.
But they have to do a lot of legwork ahead of time, so they understand they have the capacity to do it. Or they don't do one big. They usually break it up to like 5 different bids for all the work that has to be done throughout the county. And we're just one of those.
Yep.
So
I would prefer, and we've done this most of the time, I believe, something of this size or conversation about something of this size, because it would be about 10, 15% of our total budget. That would pull us out of the consent agenda and take this as an item. So I'll move to that. I don't necessarily disagree with it, but
it's been on the consent agenda for long before I got here.
Okay. All right.
I've got one last thing, and it's no, we don't have to do a deep dive on it now, but it's something that was brought to my attention about a week and a half ago. So there's been an increased amount of, and I think Carl has brought this up before, as well as some of the other aldermen, mini bikes that are running through the city with some teenagers, some appear to be almost adults, or they're adults, I guess, but there was some that were riding on the Darden Prairie campus of the community college, going up the hill and down the hill, riding around the trails back there. So I called it. I was walking around with my family, and then, of course, they kind of come zipping through the trail. And I tried to flag. Guy's got a full face mask on, built like a pretty, much an adult. Let's just put it that way. It wasn't a small child, but he's zipping through the trails. So anyway, so I called our police department and kind of informed them. Officer Holmes responded, and we chatted. With this, it's hard for them to pursue, but 2, there isn't, I guess the police don't have access or keys to get onto the trail if they needed to. Is there keys that are given so this brought up a separate issue, because in the event there was an emergency on the trail, the police would not even be able to access the trail to drive down to get to whatever the emergency situation site was, because they don't have access to Barrett Haven Trail via a set of keys or any sort of, So that's just something I wanted to bring up to the city that was kind of, I thought was, so there's kind of 2 issues there. Just want to bring it up for discussion briefly. And like I said, we don't have to do a deep dive. The mini bike issue is becoming pervasive, and it's challenging for our police department, because they'll slip onto a trail that you can't follow, or they'll slip into, the woods or a dirt path, and then, the police can't really pursue, and it becomes a challenge. So, but the other thing is there, so we'll talk about that later, I suppose, but the key to Barrett Haven Trail for our emergency first responders, is that something that we can
I guess my question is that, where can they not get on at? I mean,
Well,
I know Ed Scorn got his Jeep onto the trails to pull us out of the ditch when we got the
No, you're talking about the
motorcycle.
main gates, right? That close up at
Well,
night?
every
what?
gate, every trail access point
Here's a baluster.
has
a ballard on
You
it.
just pull it up. It just slides out.
There's locks on it.
Locks? Who
I
put locks on?
believe there are locks there to keep it from.
I don't know, like I said,
We'll have to look. but
when we
I
got
mean,
the lawnmower stuck, Ed got over there just fine.
Yeah, well, I mean, when the city accesses it with their vehicles to go, like go with the Porta John, that's accessed via St. Madeline Drive, I believe, and that,
So
you
there's a
have,
ballard there that's locked.
and I believe there's also one at Riparian Court that's
Okay.
locked as well. I guess my point is that,
I know it's accessible from the parking lot without an issue, but I didn't, so you're talking about
I just say,
Marion and St. Madeline.
yeah, those are the two. For the parking lot, I don't know, but I guess at large, it's beyond that. If there are any trail access points that emergency vehicles would need to get to, I just proposed a unified keying system for all of them, and that the police would, and emergency response would have those if they don't already. It was just something that I kind of assumed was already built into the operating policies of the city. But when I found out that was not the case, so.
We'll probably, I mean, I'm not sure what kind of locking mechanism it is. We'll probably replace it with a combination lock of sorts that the combination can be shared. Otherwise,
That makes sense.
access to keys might be tough, but yeah, we can look at that.
Okay.
I would say we probably want to consult with the chief or whoever our contacts are and see what they like best. Facilitate.
I just have a comment. Edenshire, I was at their HOA and they were complaining about mini bikes being driven in their subdivision and how they were a
Awful.
safety
Just
hazard.
awful. They do wheelies up and down Meriwether Lewis at midnight. And during the day, they fly in and out of there. They go 3 abreast down the road, 2 abreast down the road with the other one trying to catch up. They're just reckless.
Yeah, and
They're going to hurt somebody innocent.
or
you
they're going to
know,
hurt
other-
themselves.
Well, that's their problem, but
Which about-
somebody innocent is ridiculous that we.
Carla will hand out the Darwin Award.
Already we put a chain across the road at night, but no, it's just ridiculous the way they do, and they don't care is the point about anybody but themselves. And the parent knows about it and is not doing anything about it, so,
Yeah, I mean, they clearly have to keep them at their house.
Is there something the app will fix?
huh? What?
He goes, is this something the app?
Yes, you can take a picture of these guys,
Yeah,
and
so-
you can
okay.
mark it every time.
You can't take a picture, they fly by too fast.
And they've got smart to wear the full mask helmet. So the the guy that was driving on the trail, like I said, this guy was probably at least over 18 by a couple of years.
These are
my
all over
assessment.
18.
And he has a big, full, shiny,
Hey,
reflective
we
face.
really need to move on, okay? I mean, we get this,
John, we're in the middle of a conversation.
Oh.
I think that the
No.
board is
We got-
engaged in a conversation.
we're way past time. Let's get to the point and move on, okay?
We'll discuss this later.
Yeah, we can discuss it later.
We got time in a regular meeting to discuss.
And John,
it.
you can at least be a little more polite in how you would engage the board. I'm tired of your attitude.
Okay,
You can be a little bit more polite with how you engage the board. You can be respectful and courteous in the way you engage us.
just the way you are right now?
I'm telling you that you can
Okay.
be respectful and courteous, but you do not.
I got it. City Administrator,
I have nothing further.
Alderman.
Nope, I'm gonna wait.
Good.
By the time, we're moving on.
Can we take a 5-minute break?
Move to
Yeah.
close
Go to the
the,
restroom.
And, got a motion to
Okay.
adjourn the,
Second.
work session? Got a
Mike
motion?
just motioned, I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Work session is adjourned. We'll take a 5-minute break and we'll move on to the Board of Aldermen regular meeting.
Hi, Michael. What's up, my buddy? How you doing, man? No.
you don't fix it all. And a charger. Thank you.
Congratulations.